Harrison Okene. When a tugboat capsized off the coast of Nigeria in 2013, the entire crew was presumed dead. But Harrison Okene, the cook, was still alive, trapped 100 feet below the ocean in an air pocket the size of a small desk. In complete darkness, surrounded by bodies, Harrison stayed afloat on a mattress and sang psalms to stay calm. He had no food, drank Coca-Cola, and hoped someone would find him. Finally, after nearly 72 hours, a diver scanning the wreck got the shock of his life when a hand reached out and grabbed him. Harrison was alive, the only survivor, and had defied what many thought impossible, surviving without scuba gear deep underwater for 3 days. Juliane Koepcke was just 17 when her plane broke apart mid-air during a thunderstorm over the Peruvian rainforest. She fell 10,000 feet without a parachute and lived. That sounds impossible, but she was strapped into her seat, which spun like a helicopter, slowing her descent. Miraculously, she survived with a broken collarbone, a gash on her arm, and one swollen eye. Alone in the jungle, Juliane relied on what her biologist parents had taught her: follow running water. For 11 days, she wandered through the Amazon, infected with maggots, surviving on candy and dirty rainwater. Finally, she stumbled upon a logging camp where she was rescued. Out of 92 people, she was the only survivor. Mauro Prosperi. In 1994, Italian endurance athlete Mauro Prosperi was running the Marathon des Sables, a 6-day ultramarathon in the Sahara Desert, when a sandstorm blew him wildly off course. He wandered for 9 days in 120 degrees Fahrenheit heat with no idea where he was. He drank his own urine, ate bats he found in an abandoned shrine, and even slit his wrists in despair, but his blood was too thick to flow due to dehydration. Eventually, he stumbled into a nomadic camp nearly 200 miles off track, weighing 100 pounds and barely alive. Mauro lost 30 pounds, but survived the world's most brutal desert thanks to pure willpower and survival instinct. Roy Sullivan. Roy Sullivan was a U.S. park ranger in Virginia, and what happened to him defied science. He was struck by lightning not once, not twice, but 7 times over the course of his life, and survived every single one. The first strike burned off his eyebrows and left a scar down his leg. The second knocked him unconscious. The third set his shoulder on fire, and yet he kept returning to work, each time recovering and moving on, as if nature itself had chosen him, and he refused to back down. People started calling him the human lightning rod, but Roy didn't see it as a superpower. He lived in fear of the sky, even carried a can of water with him at all times just in case. Scientists couldn't explain how he survived that much voltage without permanent disability. Anna Bågenholm. In 1999, Anna Bågenholm, a Swedish doctor, was skiing in Norway when she fell headfirst into an icy stream. Trapped under an 8-inch layer of ice, she struggled but couldn't break free. After 40 minutes, she stopped moving, and her heart stopped. But this wasn't the end. Rescuers pulled her out 80 minutes after she had fallen in. Her body temperature had dropped to 56.7 degrees Fahrenheit, one of the lowest ever recorded in a human. Miraculously, doctors revived her using a heart-lung machine. Her body had gone into a kind of suspended animation where extreme cold slowed everything down, just enough to keep her brain intact. After weeks in recovery, Anna survived with no brain damage. She was clinically dead for over an hour, but walked out alive. Vesna Vulović. In 1972, Vesna Vulović, a Yugoslav flight attendant, holds a Guinness World Record no one wants for surviving the highest fall without a parachute. A terrorist bomb exploded on her plane, and she plummeted 33,000 feet, the height of Mount Everest, in the wreckage of the fuselage. She crashed into snow-covered trees and the side of a mountain. Everyone else on board died. Vesna broke her skull, legs, and vertebrae, and was in a coma for 27 days, but she woke up. Doctors think the wreckage and angle of the impact absorbed just enough shock to save her. She never remembered the fall, but walked out alive. Joe Simpson and his climbing partner Simon Yates were scaling the treacherous Ciula Grande in the Peruvian Andes when disaster struck. Joe fell into a crevasse and broke his leg. With no chance of rescue, Simon tried lowering Joe down the mountain until the rope caught on a cliff edge. Fearing he'd be pulled off too, Simon made a heartbreaking choice. He cut the rope. Joe fell into a crevasse and was presumed dead. But somehow, he survived the fall, crawled out of the crevasse, and spent 3 days crawling alone with a shattered leg, without food or water, back to camp. When he finally arrived, barely conscious, his stunned partner wept. Joe had done what no one thought was humanly possible.